Today we'll talk about why some people enjoy being sexually objectified. Power dynamics are part of our most integrated struggle as we grow up and learn how to relate to others around us, how we get what we want from parents, family, friends, teachers, and others in our lives. These dynamics develop how we relate to power, but also impact how we get turned on by these power dynamics. Did you submit to play the innocent so you could control your parents, or did you try to overpower others to get what you want through dominance? These learned patterns will likely impact what turns you on. And women are twice as likely to have fantasies of power dynamics, dominance and submission, as they are to actually experience it in real life. I put this down to two factors. It feels more safe for women to experience this in a fantasy as they are in control. The second is that there's more shame around this for women, hence why they might feel less inclined to live it out in real life. The dominating force demonstrates a desire for the submissive, and it can become both a turn-on and very validating for the submissive to feel so desired. In surrender and responsiveness, the submissive validate the power of the dominant, and their responsiveness make them feel powerful. The ego plays a big part in enhancing nature of the dominance and submissive validating each other in this way. Our fantasies are full of power dynamics, the head teacher and their student, the doctor and their patient, the boss and their PR. It can be different in social status, job roles, age gap, anything that makes one person perceived to be more powerful than the other. There's a good reason we fight for equality in everyday life, and rightfully so. At the same time, we must be careful not to restrict our sex lives with this political correctness. This mentality will only shut down some of the potential for sexual expression and key turn-ons. If we shut it down, then where can we express this beautiful part of being human? What we need instead of this black and white ideas of what's right or wrong is a detailed debate on consent. Consent is not just getting a yes. Consent is when people involved don't experience any pressure, fear, intimidation, or unwanted consequences for not doing something, and have time to sense what they genuinely want and decide they want to participate. That's consent. And within consent, we can let go of that political correctness and judgment and allow a free human expression that's both exciting, healing, and connecting. There's so much judgment around power dynamics that we often fail to see not only the erotic potential, but also the beauty of surrendering. In a world where we are always expected to be in control, we lack a place to just let go entirely. Surrender is a place of letting go of control and within the ultimate freedom, actually. So that's an interesting perspective here. Fear is what motivates our need for control and the idea to be safe, that we must be in control. Control requires a lot of energy and focus, and it can be really draining on our energy, spirit, and sexuality. So to fully surrender to somebody else is more than just a sexual practice. It's a spiritual practice of letting go, and it can be very, very freeing and empowering. It's a real place of freedom, because within the fear, which is a need for control, we can't feel entirely free. And so the most potent force might be that of surrender. Surrendering is a sexual power dynamic that seems to appeal more to women than to men. The shame put on women around sex from an early age could explain this. By surrendering and allowing somebody else to take charge, we can let go of any guilt or shame around sex. It allows us to relinquish this responsibility and enjoy it more fully. It's also more common that people in powerful position often enjoy that sexual surrender, as it's one of the places where they can just let go. Many men express their wish for their women to take charge sometimes. Men wanting to surrender might be surprising for some, as a stereotypical view is that men are dominant and women are submissive. However, these are to a large extent learned roles reinforced through our upbringing and socialization. Many men enjoy the feeling of being desired and wanted, and we can experience this when somebody else takes charge and take that dominant role. This is when we can let go too. It's a more unfamiliar role to many men, but one that they often express wanting to explore. So while men have a desire to surrender, they find it harder to do in real life, especially to somebody they love and care about. There's an interesting association in our culture that size equals power and dominance. This means it's often a man that is expected to be dominant simply because he's physically bigger than his partner. Power dynamics work great as fantasies because it's safe. In fantasies, there's no real danger, but they can also be played out in roleplay with a trusted partner. What's important is to have conversations beforehand and be very clear around boundaries, consent, and have safe words that will stop the scenario if it becomes too much. And only ever do this if it's within full explicit consent from everybody involved. That means giving consent without being under pressure or feeling threatened in any way. Also ensure you have a lot of trust with the person you do this with and that you have your safe word memorized. Being taken, which is also part of the power dynamics of a dominance, is a common female fantasy and desire. The fantasy makes them look at a culture where women again are shamed around sex. For some, being taken and overpowered, let them just let go of all that responsibility and allow the pressure to happen to them. It can feel incredible. Objectification is also a big part of these power dynamics. Desire is by default objectification, as we need an object or something outside ourselves to desire. And since we often shamed objectification as something terrible, we again have to understand that everything can be both constructive and destructive, depending on how we use it. If we objectify people to dehumanize them so we can harm them, it's very destructive. However, if we objectify someone to feel more desire, then it can be a very constructive experience. Allowing ourselves to move between different spaces, emotion, and states is part of the human experience. And it's really important to be kind. However, this does not mean we should suppress our sexuality. There's nothing kind about that. It can be hugely damaging and miss a significant opportunity for intimacy. You can objectify your partner one moment as part of your sexual play and show affection and love the next one. One does not exclude the other. Role-playing also tends to have themes of these power dynamics. Role-play can be the doctor, patient, police officer, and detainee, boss, or PA like we discussed earlier. And you can use role-play to create fictional power dynamics that can spice up your sex life. If power is a theme of yours, then really go and try this out. And if you enjoy this video, subscribe below and share the video. And check out the free webinar on sensensor.com in the description below. Take care and see you soon.